Sunday edition here on KTN News. We are talking about the seeming crossroads that Jubilee Party is going through, or is it a crisis that is, of course, following an onslaught against Deputy President William Ruto's candidature or presidential ambitions in 2022. Let me just take a look at a couple of your texts and tweets here. Jim Kichlangat says, Edwin Makoha says, Bichach is talking sense worth listening to. The moment he stopped tangering. I don't know what Edwin means by that. But Oro says, Dismas Mokua, you're on fire. I totally agree with you. So much is amiss in this country. There's too much 2022 political noise and no work being done for Wanjiku. Are we cast or not? Or what? Winnie Kerubo says, this man is yapping for what he little understands about. We're talking about David Murathe there. There's one here. From Le Prince, who says the question is, will he win over the professors in this field? I mean, William Ruto is a leader, born, trained, and wise fellow. And finally, one here. Julius Baswet says, Murathe is surely a volley master for someone. A toad does not jump in daylight for nothing. He's just a blue-eyed errand boy. Dr. Ruto's handlers must handle him with seriousness. Politics of betrayal is in the offing once again. Kitaeleweka come 2022. And this is what we are discussing about. Let's wind this up and Dismas, what is the way forward now for the Jubilee Party? I mean, there's what the Vice Chairman is saying and how it stands with a half of the party, and that is the Deputy President's side. You're saying it is not a political party, it is just a combination of political figureheads. But at the end of the day, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto were elected on a Jubilee Party ticket. It is a political party to Kenyans. So what next? It's still, there's still a lot of time between now and 2022, but Kenyans need to understand what next. Is Ruto being edged out of the party?
Well, we need to do investigations and ask ourselves that when Mr. David Murathe speaks, is he speaking on his own motion? Or is he representing a group within Jubilee or the Mount Kenya elite? Then that one will be able to give us a direction. And in my view, he's doing what people refer to placer deniability. That is staying staff that if it backfires, then he'll move direction. So it's important for President Kenyatta to come out and tell Kenyans in black and white whether or not David Murathe is actually representing his position as the head of state, so that we know for a fact that President Kenyatta is not interested in a Ruto presidency. And if the president is not unable to do that because he wants to play at a national level, then let's have a free, fair, and democratic election within Jubilee, so that you've got officials who've been elected by the Jubilee base, that whoever becomes the deputy chair or vice chair, when he speaks, we know for a fact that is speaking and is representing the party position. However, when you look at the Kenyan political space, there's no way any political party in Kenya is going to have a free, fair, and credible election. What they'll likely do is go to Kasarani and by acclamation elect party officials. But maybe they should break that myth, and we have a free, fair, and credible election within Jubilee, and not only Jubilee, all political parties, so that when Murathe speaks, the Secretary General doesn't get nervous and stands up and he says he's not speaking on behalf of Jubilee. Now that takes us to the next question.
Yes.
So if Murathe, who we know to be the Vice Chair of Jubilee, is not speaking for Jubilee, who is he speaking for? Is he speaking for President Kenyatta, who is the head of state, or is he speaking for President Kenyatta, who is the leader of Jubilee, or is he giving his personal opinion? Now that's what we need to know to have a clarity. Because believe you me, there is no way we are going to make progress in the next 4 years if the deputy president is watching his back, if Ruto is not comfortable within Jubilee.
Right.
Because instead of him talking about the Big Four agenda, he'll be inviting delegations to the hotel that Bichachi spoke about and his home in Sugoi, and he'll be plotting for 2022. He's not yet pronounced himself on the Vision 2030. He has not pronounced himself on the Big Four agenda. So people should stop making the life of the deputy president uncomfortable. Let them give the deputy president peace of mind, so that when we look at the scoreboard in 2022, we can tell him that Dr. Ruto and President Kenyatta, you were given a mandate for 10 years. When you took over the economy, this is where it was, and this is where we are today. But making the deputy president uncomfortable today doesn't work even for his enemies. Because you see, I don't know where you come from, if you know how to kill a rat, but if you want to kill a rat, it will take you around small circles, and if you're not careful, it will gouge your eyes. Right. And that's what they're doing right now.
Mark, do you agree? Do you think, is it in Jubilee's best interest to rattle their own deputy party leader?
There's a number of ways to look at this. That number one, I personally believe, and strongly so, that the idea that someone can sit down and say that as MP of this constituency, I am going to tell you that my successor is going to be Kipchumba. That goes against every tenet of democracy, whether it is intra-party democracy or national democracy. And the second thing that Kipchumba alluded to before the break is that it is important to expand our political conversation. This idea that if you're in Jubilee and you are against the candidacy of Ruto, then you betrayed someone, is nonsensical. Because the whole point of a political exercise is to have options. And those options are not limited to the fact that you must like your candidate. You can look at a candidate and say, I do not like their nose and I'm not going to support them. That is the nature of democracy. We gave both the wise and the foolish one vote. You understand? So there are foolish people who will vote because of tribe. There are foolish people who will vote because of the hustler myth or the dynasty myth. That's foolishness. But we must, as a people, begin to elevate the conversation. And the conversation must be elevated to this point. What kind of leader do we want in 2022? Do we want people again? And let's remember that where Jubilee started, yes, it started by two people who were accused. Right. Okay? So are we creating a situation where other accused people will now form a coalition of the accused? And is that the kind of trend that we want? That now, if I want to run for presidency or for an office, I get accused of something, then we get a cabal of the accused and call it personal challenges and then run for office. This is the kind of monkey business we do in this country.
All right, I have a question for you.
We've now normalized.
Is saying that Ruto will not be guaranteed of the Jubilee Party ticket, I mean, there'll be other aspirants who then they can go for primaries. Is it the same thing as saying somebody will go to the Supreme Court to stop the deputy president from running?
But that's what I mean. Like, if you do not like Donald Trump, okay, you can impeach Trump. You can campaign against Trump. You can pay for advertisements against Trump and be in the Republican Party. There's nothing wrong with that. It is within your political and democratic right to be against Ruto. And I do not understand why the idea of he's been betrayed, because let's be very, very clear. A betrayal can only occur if you have a deal that is legally implementable without third parties. So, for example, you cannot fault Uhuru Kenyatta for not endorsing William Ruto in 2022. It is his personal choice. Secondly, if I liked you 5 years ago, I did not think you were a thief 5 years ago. I thought you were handsome and good for this country. Then I've worked with you for 5 years and I've discovered that you are not. I have the right as a responsible Kenyan to say that I thought this person is a saint, but guess what? They're a devil. All those things are okay.
Even if my support made sure that you get into office,
my friend,
that would be dishonest.
That's the argument that wives have at divorce, saying I stood by him when he was broke. My friend, he had different needs when he was broke. He's now wealthy, he has different needs. You failed to upgrade, you got divorced, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is the problem with this country. We need to be very clear. Right. And I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but what I'm asking my fellow countrymen to do is ask themselves a question. Mudavadi, Kalonzo, Raila, all of those people, including William Samoei Arap Ruto, do they have the character and the content of direction to take us where we need to be? Right. My question is, we live in a country where even to get on the bypass from Wayaki Way, there is traffic because of trucks. We have a sitting government, sitting governor. None of them has ever fixed that because of what this man said. Right. They're busy thinking about nonsense, rising to power for the sake of power.
Right. Let's wind this up. Hesbon, some pundits are saying that this is a ploy to force Ruto out of the party. What is your crystal ball telling you? Do you see him leaving the party?
Well, I think if you look at it critically, if it is a ploy to get him out of the party, it's gonna work to his advantage. You know, for the simple reason that if you go back to history, and even before you look at history, the two sentiments, there is a sentiment from Murathe and there is the assertion from Moses Kuria. You get a sense that Murathe is actually speaking from a source that does not want to be known to Kenyans, and he's making a very critical point that there is a clique that is not comfortable with the deputy president. And then if you juxtapose that with what Moses Kuria is saying, you also get a sense that there are elected leaders who feel that that is likely to boomerang on Jubilee and the president if he's behind what Murathe is saying. Because what Moses Kuria is trying to tell the Mount Kenya region is that the presidency has not helped us, you know, so much as we expected because one of us is there. And it basically implies that even if they gave the presidency to somebody else who is not supported by the tribe or somebody who is not a member of the tribe, chances are it will help them and it will provide an avenue for them to get that power in future. So there are those sentiments that there is one elected leader who is probably speaking from the electorate's point of view, and then there is Murathe who is probably speaking from an elite point of view, which is far much withdrawn from the reality of the matter. And why am I saying this? Because most people don't understand the history of how President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Deputy President William Ruto have worked together. You know, our memory is only taking us back to ICC, which is far from the truth. Because in 2002, towards the run-up to the election in 2002, Raila Odinga collapsed his NDP and joined KANU. And there was that impression that KANU is going to have a nomination and they will give a ticket to the most popular candidate. And there was hope among people, you know, that it's going to be Raila. And it didn't happen. But if you reflect, you realize that the person who stood steadfast with the president, the current president, is the Deputy President, William Ruto. He was the director of elections of KANU. And when Moi made a decree that the person I can trust this country with is President Uhuru Kenyatta, it is William Ruto who made sure that President Uhuru Kenyatta was in the ballot. And I can tell you without any fear of contradiction that at that point, Moses Kuria was actually fresh from ensuring that Moses Muia beat President Uhuru Kenyatta. So there's something that Moses Kuria understands about the electorate that Murathe does not understand.
Speaking of which, let's listen to what Moses Kuria has been saying. He has been speaking about this whole issue, and it's part and parcel of this discussion, Uhuru Kenyatta succession politics. He did speak on New Year's Day, alluding to the fact, claiming that the president has not done much in central Kenya. Let's listen.
Leo hata nikiwaambia jambo msilichukulie serious sana. Leo ni siku ya kula ni siku ya kula nini? Ni siku ya kurukisha mwaka na kushukuru Mungu kwa sababu ya pahali ametufikisha. Unajua kama taifa tumepitia mambo mengi na ni kwa sababu ya kupenda kwa Mwenyezi Mungu tukaweza kuona hii siku ya leo. Mimi nataka kusema hivi, tukifungua mwaka wa 2019, nyinyi mfikirie sana. Mfanye hili. Hii mambo kazi yetu ni kupiga kura. Baada ya kupiga kura, maendeleo tunapatiana kwingine. Hiyo ujinga tuache.
Every region, not just my region, has got a right to demand for development for the region. And I will not begrudge any other region which asks for the same. I think if all the regions of Kenya are strong, Kenya as a whole will be strong. Yeah? So I cannot forego my right to ask for development for my region. And I cannot begrudge another region for asking for development.
So Kipchumba, very quickly, this whole debate seems to be about two groups inside central Kenya fighting for their place in 2022 politics. Where do you think this angle by Moses Kuria fits?
Then we are caught up in a situation whereby we are handling two successions. We are handling the kingship succession, the political kingship succession of succeeding Uhuru Kenyatta as the Mount Kenya spokesperson. That is the first succession. And secondly, that succession is spilling over. The waves in the other succession, the Kikuyu succession or the Gema succession, is spilling over to the national succession of 2022. And that is why everybody now is trying to position themselves in such a manner that if today Uhuru Kenyatta is not there, I am the person who will be negotiating in the discussion table as to who will be where and when in the concerning 2022. And look at it this way. When you look at when Moses Kuria speaks, it's either he's speaking the truth about what is happening in the grassroots, or he's just making sure that people think and feel that he's speaking whatever they are thinking. Because there has been talk that Kiambu County has not experienced development as much as it did during Kibaki. So Moses Kuria is just trying to vent out that one so that tomorrow, when the people of Central Kenya are faced with a question of who will be their spokesperson, they'll be asking themselves, what has Moses Kuria been doing? And you know, Moses Kuria even has a name. He's called Njambayar already. It means that he has packaged himself with the poor Kikuyu people in the downtrodden within the Kikuyu voters. But coming back to whatever the discussion before we went to the break, we cannot sit in this table and fight economic impunity and sit in the same table and encourage political impunity. We as a nation must be a nation whereby we stand by what we say and we walk the talk.
Hesbon,
yes.
Your final thought on this. Do you believe that the fact that Central Kenya does not seem to have a spokesman, so to speak, is a big problem, a big part of this?
Well, I think if they assume that position that they don't have a spokesman and run away from the deputy president, it will be problematic. Because as far as I'm concerned, they do have a spokesman. I mean, when President Uhuru Kenyatta and the deputy president decided to run on a joint ticket, it was a bit obvious that it was President Uhuru Kenyatta and then the deputy president. So the language of the deputy president is supposed to be supported by these people. And when Kipchumba is talking about political impunity, that is what it is. That if they run away from the deputy president, that is another thing that they should be held accountable for, that they cannot deceive all Kenyans and deceive Kenyans to believe that it was good when Ruto was supporting them, and now Ruto is a bad person. It doesn't work like that. And the perception that it will be created in the people is that do your thing and let the deputy president look for votes in the arrangement that you had provided. Because the moment they betray the deputy president, I can tell you without any fear of contradiction that when Moses Kuria speaks, he's speaking for people and he's elected. Murathe is not. And then there's the other part of the country that is also watching. And they're thinking, why is it that you are only useful when you are serving them? And that will work in the interest of the deputy president.
Mark disagrees. Why?
Because, listen, if we go to do a contract together, me and you, Ben, okay, and we had a nice deal and we got the contract because of you.
Yes.
Then we started doing business together and I discover that you are stealing from the business, okay? Now, should I continue to do the next deal with you? Let's please understand something.
No.
That, no, let me finish.
The insinuation that Mark has been going with the whole time this show began. It was I think on a 27th March 2013 or 2012 in 64 Stadium. And people who have read and been in the discourse of Kalenjin politics, Uhuru Kenyatta back then was not the most popular candidate in that race. What happened? Uhuru Kenyatta stood there, he spoke for around 7 minutes and told those people, I know what we are doing. And before Uhuru Kenyatta spoke, Kutunyi had told people, even if water will not want to go uphill, we will use a generator to pump it there. That was not normal water. They were talking about people. They were forcing people to vote to that direction. Therefore, what did Uhuru Kenyatta say after he took the microphone? He said, I thank you for endorsing my candidature. I'll be here for 10 years, and then my brother will come for 10 years. What did that do? There are people in that crowd who had not been convinced to vote for Uhuru Kenyatta. But by saying that, they were convinced. That's why we are saying, let us fight.
So then it would be dishonest.
Yes, this dishonesty and this dishonesty that we are trying to use literature to try to...
30 seconds only, Mark. 30 seconds only.
I am very clear in my mind, okay? You make a deal 5 years ago. You discover the person you made a deal with is not worthy of the deal. don't you also have a right to exit? Which contract today, when you write, does not have an exit clause? Which agreement does not have an exit clause? Why are we forcing people to stay in a marriage they don't want? If husband and wife are not giving each other conjugal rights, they're beating each other in the bedroom, they don't like each other, why would you force them to
But
remain
the president
married?
has not said all this.
No, you see, the thing is...
Ben, I think...
No.
We talk about stealing, we
My
talk about
point
marriages.
is, my point
All right,
is,
all right.
it's the same thing. You guys are saying there's a same
Let's take a quick commercial break here on the Sunday edition on KTN News. When we come back, we'll be wrapping the show up. We'll be also coming back with the gentleman's 2019 outlook, what they expect, what the crystal balls are saying in terms of politics 2019. Don't go too far.